Welcome to Yoga Sutra 1.3. That's chapter 1 of Samadhipada, Sutra number 3. If you haven't watched the videos for Sutras 1.1 and 1.2, you should go back and review those. The sutras are threaded in a way where one threads the needle from one sutra to the next. So, I mean, even when you listen to the word sutra, you can hear how similar that is to suture, right? Say, you got to go to the nurse's or the doctor's office to get sewed up, right? They're going to put some sutures in you. That's what this is. We're threading something together, together. Anyway, let me say this sutra, and then we'll get into the pronunciation of some of the letter combinations, and then we will talk about the meanings. But I'm really happy that you're here. Here goes. Tada drashtuhu swarupe avastanam. All right. That's how you chant Sutra 1.3. All right. I don't know if you recall from the first sutra, we introduced a couple of S's, the regular S with no mark, the S with an apostrophe above it, and then this special S was not on that slide, but I introduced it anyway. This is the retroflex, right? An S with a dot beneath it. And when you see this, I want you to curl your tongue back and let the tip of your tongue touch the roof of your mouth toward the back. That's what this sound is, right? It's different than S. It's different than the SH, the regular SH. Shh. This one is, so we have S, 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 sh. Listen to the sounds. It's different. All right. The T now. So anytime you see those dots, except for when you see that dot under the H, the dot under the T is also a retroflex. So you would, again, curl your tongue and let the tip of your tongue touch the roof of your mouth toward the back. So it's not a regular dental T, that you typically say when you say a word like top, right? Now you're going to place your tongue toward the back of your mouth, and it's t, not t, it's t, t, t. So here's the difference. And this takes some practice. Trust me, it took me a while for me to build up the coordination. I mean, in isolation, these are pretty simple to conquer or accomplish with a little bit of practice. But there are some combinations, man, where it gets a little tricky. So the tongue gets coordinated in the way we speak. And this helps develop our speech, believe it or not. Okay, so that's the T retroflex. Then we have the V. The V is not pronounced like the typical V in Western countries, English-speaking countries in the West, right? I like to describe this as in between the V that we know and in between the W that we know. So again, it's going to sound a lot like the W with a slight V sound to it, okay? This one is sva, right? And then we have the TH. I introduced the aspirate earlier. I didn't have any notes on the slide, but I still talked about it. But anytime you see the H after a consonant, it's an aspirate, which means there's a slight explosion of the breath, right? We blow out some air. In fact, this was in the very first word in the first sutra, ta, right? Avastanam. So we're still going to do the ta. This is not a TH sound like we're used to in the West, right? Where we through and thorough, and it's not that TH. And again, I repeat, it's not hatha yoga, it's hatha yoga, okay? All right, so those are some pronunciations, and I want you to remember those. Now we're going to talk about our special marks called Sūtras. Now, you have the worksheet. Hopefully you've downloaded it. There's space there provided for you to write these marks down for you to practice. I hope that you do write these down just so that you have reference to them, because a lot of times when you go to some of the books out there where authors do happen to share the word for word breakdown. They don't share these special marks and help you know how to chant them. I want you to know how to chant the sutras, because not only are we going to study the word for word meanings, but chanting also helps us embody it. I want us to become the book so that wherever we go, we can always apply the principles contained therein. All right. All right. So these are the swaras, and I want you to follow along with your eyes as I chant this sutra so that you can hear the low, middle, and high notes as we go through this. Okay. This is very specific, and there is a lot of literature out there that talks about the scientific basis behind Sanskrit because it does something to us physiologically. We're already exhaling when we chant, because anytime you make a sound, you have to exhale. And when you chant a whole sutra, you're extending the exhale, which has a relaxing effect, right? And that does something to the mind, as most of us know. If we're creative or we're into some kind of arts, we know that we want to relax the mind. So this does something to us in a beneficial way. All right, so here I go. Follow along with your eyes and listen to me chant this. Tada drashtuhu swarupe avastanam. I'll do it one more time. Tada drashtuhu Svarupe avastanam. All right. Moving right along, we're going to talk about the word for word meanings now. Okay. And we have to remember what we already covered, right? In the first sutra, Atha Yoga Nushasanam. And then in the second sutra, Yoga Chittavritti Nirodha. Now we're in the third sutra, so we have to remember everything that we already discussed, because remember, this is a sutra. It's threaded, right? And it's very genius and very efficient the way this stuff is put together. Man, I love it. But tada, then at that time, so we're referring back to the previous sutra, right? When it said yoga chitta vritti nirodha, right? Yoga is when all the activities of the mind are completely still. That's what we were saying in Yoga Sutra 1.2. Now we're saying at that time, okay? Then at that time when the mind is completely still, the seer, drashtuhu, the seer, inner witness, pure awareness. And as we discuss this further, I'll introduce other synonyms to go along with this, or ways to describe drashtuhu, okay? Because there's a multitude of different words. Even there's different forms of drashtuhu, because this comes from the root drishti, okay? So, but again, it's not that complicated, but there is a lot, all right? Moving on. The next word, swarupe, all right? In general, people think of this to mean own nature, but I want you to also see that I divided this word up into two. So you have swa, rupe, okay? Swa means own, rupe means form, right? Or nature or essence, but mostly you'll see this translated as form. So then the seer own form, okay? And then avastanam, state of abiding. All right, this is when, so at that time, then the seer abides or dwells in its own form. When? Go back to Sutra 1.2. When the mind, the activities of the mind are completely and utterly still. Man, that's genius. I love it. And this goes, I think I talked about this in the previous recording, but I like to think of that mirror when you look down into the surface of a water in a lagoon or a lake or a pond. When the air is completely still, the surface of the water is still, forming a perfect mirror. And you can look into it and you can see your own reflection as it is with no distortion. But as soon as the activity or the winds pick up, and I call the winds activities of the mind, or the activities of the mind wind, then the surface of the water will develop ripples, distorting the reflection that you see, right? And oftentimes that's who we think we are, because the mind is constantly racing or moving or doing something, right? It's active, right? But anyway, at that time, then the seer dwells or abides or resides in its own form, rests in its own form. It's established in its own form. Okay? And there you have it. That's my interpretation of the sutra. Again, refer to the blog post, and I'm going to share where I share the interpretations of 7 authors who also have books out there on the Yoga Sutras. T.K. Videsi Kachar, the son of Krishnamacharya, he's one of the authors, and Iyengar is one of the authors, also a student of Krishnamacharya. Okay? So go check those out, but here's mine. At that time, the seer dwells in its own form. There it is. I'm glad you're here. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time for Sutra 1.4. Have an awesome one.